Now we turn to Bolivia, where a president clings to power amid a deepening economic crisis. The military coup, foiled over a week ago, has left more questions than answers. President Luis Arce is somehow managing to fend off a rebellious army by appointing new army chiefs as the soldiers were in the Plaza Murillo and knocking literally on his door. This headline story hides a disturbing tale of a country where people are more and more struggling to make ends meet and put the basic necessities of life on the table. Let's bring in our correspondent, Madeleyne Alguila, who's in La Paz. It was Madeleyne who brought the news of the coup to us as it was happening and gave us, I must reiterate, Madeleyne, excellent analysis on the night. So we've asked you back to give us a sense of how things are right now. So when we met you, the coup was happening and you brought us all the very latest. Tell us the situation now where you are. Tell us how things are in La Paz.
Hello, Mark. Yes. Well, a week has passed since the military intervention in Murillo Square with military armored vehicles, right? What at the time seemed like a military coup is now difficult to define, since it is also seen as a self-coup or a political show. Well,
in terms of a political show, Madeleyne, what does that precisely mean? Because there is a story that perhaps the president somehow was complicit in what was happening. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Well, when Zuniga was being arrested, he said to the press that it was the president, Luis Arce, who organized all this military intervention, right? So after that, many people have been talking about this political show to bring up the popularity of the president. Even the former president Evo Morales mentioned this through social media, saying that Luis Arce deceived and lied to the Bolivian people and the world. It is regrettable that such a sensitive issue as the denouncing of a coup is used. Evo Morales said. To this, Arce replied that Evo Morales, don't be wrong again. Clearly what happened on June 26 was failed military coup in Bolivia. Don't take the side of fascism that denies what happened. So it's been a topic of arguments even between the two politicians like Arce and Evo Morales.
Madeleyne, could you bear with us, please, because I'd like to get your reflections on the thoughts of our next guest, who is Carl Meacham, President and CEO of Global Americans, which is a think tank based in Washington, D.C. Carl Meacham, thank you for being with us. The situation, as we've just been hearing from our correspondent in La Paz, is a delicate one. I'm wondering what your kind of thoughts on what is happening in Bolivia. What's your take on the situation, sir?
Well, sure. Thank you for having me. The recent coup attempt against President Arce was driven by economic hardship, political infighting, historical instability. Bolivia has been struggling with slow economic growth, inflation, scarcity of essential commodities like fuel. This economic crisis has severely impacted everyday Bolivians. Let's not forget that. Politically, tensions between Arce and his predecessor, Evo Morales, have escalated. Particularly over control of the ruling MAS party, the Movement for Socialism party. And this infighting has paralyzed efforts to address economic challenges, with Morales' allies in Congress blocking Arce's initiative. So this coup attempt, though short-lived and lacking significant support, underscored Bolivia's fragile state. The brief military uprising led by General Zuniga, highlighted ongoing power struggles and deep-seated issues that could lead to further unrest. The incident, condemned by political leaders and international allies, I think reflects the acute national crisis and the volatility within Bolivia's democracy.
What would you make of the reports that have suggested that the president was somehow complicit in what was happening?
Well, you're hearing mixed reports there. I'm not going to sort of judge it one way or another, but I will say to you, where there is smoke, there is fire. And there could be some arrangement there, but I could not state to you because the facts are yet to be sort of discovered to sort of give this a read one way or another.
Carl Meacham, thank you very much indeed. Stay with us. I'm going back to Madeleyne Alguila in La Paz, who was the reporter who, on the night of the coup, was with us here on France 24 and talking us through what was happening, and very skillfully gave us the fact from the less factual aspects of what was happening. And Madeleyne, we appreciated that on the night. You with us now? We're hearing about the fact, and coming from Carl in Washington, about how life is difficult for people in Bolivia. Give us a sense about how people in Bolivia struggle every day to basically put food on the table. How tough is life at the moment?
Well, we can live a really deep economic crisis, starting from the fact that it's really difficult to find a job here. Even for professional people, really well-prepared people, they cannot find jobs, so they just take any job, even if it's really low paid, even being doctors, lawyers, or even scientifics, they won't find a job. So they start with informal commerce just to bring some money to the family. Besides that, there's the fact that we cannot find dollars. In Bolivia, you cannot find gasoline for your cars. So people are really scared of how the future will be for Bolivian people.
Madeleyne, bear with us, please. And going back to Carl in Washington. Carl, we heard there from Madeleyne about how life is tough. And clearly, it is tough for many people in Bolivia. What are those factors, Carl, that are making it that way? Is it about, I don't know, is it government policy? Is it foreign policy? Is it other pressures on the country from outside? What's your take on that situation?
Usual with anything, it's a multitude of factors. Economic turmoil in Bolivia fuels distrust in the government, especially after the recent coup attempt. I think Bolivia's economy has faced significant challenges over the past several years, including falling commodity prices, reduced gas production, and the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that these issues have led to a significant drop in economic growth. The IMF forecasted just 1.6% growth this year, which is the slowest in a quarter century for Bolivia. And the economy, once reliant on exports like natural gas, has faltered due to depleted reserves and reduced demand. This shift increased dependence on imports, funded by a dwindling supply of dollars, worsening inflation and reducing purchasing power. Many citizens, mistrusting financial institutions, have turned to mattress banks, further straining the economy. So the government's handling of the coup attempt has amplified this mistrust, and many viewed it either as a failure to prevent a significant threat or as a political stunt, as we alluded to distract from economic issues. And former military commander Zuniga's actions, whether part of a genuine coup or an orchestrated self-coup, highlighted perceived government manipulations, deepening public disillusionment.
Final word, I think, excuse me, Carl, I'm sorry to cut you off. I've got to go back to La Paz and get a comment from Madeleyne. Madeleyne, final word from you. What are you looking for? What would you like to see happen? Clearly, this situation is not over. Things are not steady and not improving for people, and you need to see some kind of change. What would you like to see?
I would love to see stability of the prices, stability of the job offer for Bolivian people. I think that whatever happened last week is just one small event. The big picture is that we are living in an economic crisis, and it's kind of ironic because President Arce was the Minister of Economy himself, so I would kind of blame him for the situation also over here. So I think what I would like to see is a better financial situation of my country and a better future for professional people.
Madeleyne, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thanks also to Carl Meacham from Global Americans think tank in Washington. Carl, we're out of time, so I can't come back to you, but I know there's so much more to discuss about the potential that Bolivia has. And thank you, sir, for giving us your insight. Too brief for us, sadly, but we've got to move on. Thank you, sir, for being with us. We'll come back to this story at a later date because clearly what is happening in Bolivia is not yet over.